You've heard the story before. A human finds a wolf pup, raises it by hand, feeds it, trains it, tames it. Generation after generation, the wolf becomes a dog. Humans, patient and clever, bent a predator into a companion. It's a good story. It's also almost certainly wrong. Here's what most people assume about how dogs began. We chose them. We saw something useful in the wolf, loyalty, maybe, or hunting skill, and we selected for it on purpose. The way you'd breed a faster horse or a fatter pig. Deliberate, intentional, ours. But the more researchers study the actual evidence, the less that story holds up, because the timeline doesn't fit, because the genetics don't fit, and because there's a much stranger explanation sitting underneath all of it. In the 1990s, a biologist named Raymond Coppinger spent years studying free-ranging dogs around the world. Not pets, not pedigrees, but the scavenger dogs that live on the edges of human settlements from Mexico City to rural India. He noticed something odd. These dogs weren't being bred by anyone. Nobody was selecting them. Nobody was training them, and yet they all converged on the same basic shape, same build, same temperament, same behavior. Coppinger proposed something that reframed the entire question of where dogs came from. He called it the commensal hypothesis. The idea was simple, and it had nothing to do with the humans choosing wolves at all. Picture an ancient human camp roughly 15,000 to 40,000 years ago. Fires burning, food scraps, bones, fat, waste, the unavoidable byproduct of any group of people staying in one place. Wolves are opportunistic. A wolf pack passing nearby would have smelled that. But wolves are also deeply afraid of humans, the same way most wild animals are. Approaching a human camp meant risk. It meant getting close enough to a dangerous, unpredictable species to be killed. Most wolves wouldn't take that risk. But not every wolf has the same nervous system. Within any wild population, individual animals vary, sometimes dramatically, in something researchers call flight distance. How close a threat can get before the animal bolts. Some wolves have a long flight distance, cautious, skittish. They keep their distance from anything unfamiliar, including a human camp glowing with firelight at the edge of the dark. But some wolves have a shorter flight distance, bolder, calmer under stress, less reactive to novelty. Those wolves could get closer, close enough to scavenge, close enough to eat the scraps that others were too afraid to touch. And eating more, consistently, generation after generation, meant one thing. They survived better, they reproduced more, nobody fed them on purpose, nobody decided anything. Humans didn't tame these wolves. The boldest wolves tamed themselves. This is the part that should genuinely unsettle the story you grew up with. Domestication, in this model, wasn't a project. It wasn't something humans did to wolves. It was a filter. Passive, accidental filter that quietly rewarded the calmest individuals in a wild population, thousands of years, without a single person ever intending it. Humans didn't select the first dogs. Fear did the selecting, or more precisely, the absence of fear did. Now, this raises an obvious question. If nobody bred these wolves on purpose, how did they end up looking so different from wild wolves? Floppy ears, curled tails, patchy coats, a face that seems built to be looked at. This is where the strangest evidence comes in. In 1959, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev began an experiment with silver foxes, completely separate from dogs, that would end up explaining this exact mystery decades later. Belyaev selected foxes for exactly one trait: tameness. Nothing else. No selection for appearance. No selection for behavior beyond calmness around humans. Within a few generations, something happened that nobody had selected for at all. Tame foxes started developing floppy ears, curled, wagging tails, patches of white fur appearing on otherwise solid coats. Traits that had never been chosen suddenly emerged, simply as a side effect of selecting for low fear. Researchers now believe tameness and these physical traits are biologically linked, connected through the same developmental pathway in an embryo, something related to how stress hormones shape an animal's growth before it's even born. Select for calm, and floppy ears and curled tails come along for free, which means the dog sitting in your living room right now didn't get its soft eyes and wagging tail because anyone designed them. It got them because 10,000 generations ago, fear quietly lost. The genetic evidence backs this up in ways Coppinger never could have proven in his lifetime. Studies comparing ancient dog DNA to modern wolf populations place the divergence between dogs and wolves somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, long before any evidence of organized agriculture, long before humans were settled enough to run a deliberate breeding program. We weren't farmers yet. We were barely past being hunted ourselves. There was no kennel, no pen, no plan, just campfires and scraps and a handful of wolves on the edge of the light who didn't run. Here's what makes this stranger still. If the boldest wolves got closer to humans generation after generation, those humans would have noticed them, watched them, maybe eventually tolerated them around camp. And the wolves that tolerated humans best would have had the best access to food. A feedback loop with nobody driving it. Humans didn't adopt wolves. Wolves adopted us. And only after thousands of years of that, only after the wolf had already become something closer to a dog, calm enough to live alongside people without fear, did humans start doing anything we'd recognize as deliberate breeding. By the time we started choosing traits, the hardest part was already finished. We inherited an animal that had already chosen us back. This changes something about how you should think about your own dog. Every dog alive today, the golden retriever sleeping by your feet, the street dog scavenging behind a restaurant, carries the genetic memory of a single decision made by a handful of wolves thousands of years ago at the edge of a fire. Stay and risk it, or run and stay wild. The ones that stayed are the reason dogs exist at all. And the ones that ran are still out there, still wolves, still afraid of you, the way their ancestors were afraid of your ancestors, the night the fire first burned, bright enough to be seen from the tree line. So the next time your dog walks toward a stranger instead of away from one, understand what you're actually looking at. Not thousands of years of human design, thousands of years of fear, quietly losing, one wolf at a time, until the animal that remained could lie down next to a human and feel nothing but safe. You didn't build that. You just happened to be standing there when it happened.